After the events of Spider-Man No Way Home, Tom Holland's Spider-Man sends back Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man back to their respective universes, along with their villains. Upon Tobey Maguire's arrival back home, he notices something different. His New York doesn't look the same, let alone feel the same. Before we get started, let's look at some facts. There is an article on Fandom regarding some of the early plot and screenplay points on a scrapped Spider-Man 4 that Sam Raimi wasn't a fan of, so he ultimately didn't go through with it. I will not be building off these scrapped concepts. Another thing I saw as well was a well-made fan-made trailer by Screen Culture regarding Tobey Maguire and the TVA. The TVA playing a role in multiple multiversal Marvel movies is an idea I've had as well, post No Way Home, so don't think that's a concept I stole from them, cause no offense to them, they did a great job. I'm sure there was a lot of us that had the same idea. Let's get started. Upon his arrival, Peter Parker notices a different feeling in New York. Due to Otto Octavius and Norman Osborn being saved from death, they open the new timeline, and Peter accidentally got sent to that one. He begins to look around the city and notices the city just had an election. He goes to the city hall in Lower Manhattan and notices the city just elected someone named Nathaniel Richards as the new mayor of New York City. Nathaniel Richards, who we all know as Kang the Conqueror, will be played by Jonathan Majors once again, but this variant of Kang will be based on Kang the Conglomerator, who in the comics is a businessman who owns all the rights of the heroes of the modern age, using them to make profits from merchandise and film. But in our film, Kang the Conglomerator will use his wealth and influence to put a ban on all super people, heroes and villains alike. This variant of Kang was brought here from the Doctor Strange spell as well, the same way Vulture ended up in the Sonyverse. It just happens. As a result of being in an unknown universe, Kang the Conglomerator resorts to his native nature of conquering, thus conquering this universe in his way. He also knows that he is not the only one here in an unknown universe. Kang explains to the people of New York City that heroes and anyone with powers are a danger to the city and their way of life. He explains to them that superhumans only bring destruction with them, and once he cleans up the streets here, he'll move on to the rest of the country, then eventually the world. Peter hears of this and immediately seeks out MJ. He starts approaching her apartment, and he's about to knock on the window when a high-tech stun gun hits him. It's revealed that a TVA agent stunned Peter. The agent will be played by Matthew McFadden from Succession, who is rumored to be a TVA agent in the upcoming Deadpool movie. That's why I chose him, for continuity purposes. The TVA agent takes Peter to a makeshift base nearby where he keeps him handcuffed and begins to interrogate him. The agent explains to Peter that he is in the wrong universe and cannot come in contact with anyone that he knows, or else he'll start disrupting multiple timelines worse than he already has. He goes on to explain that saving Otto and Norman wasn't supposed to happen. He was supposed to let them die. It was their destiny. Peter argues that saving them was the right thing to do, and now that he's here in this timeline, he feels he needs to do the same thing. Peter goes on to tell him about Nathaniel Richards and his plan to imprison super people, and if it is his fault that he's here, he has to be the one to stop him. The agent responds by telling Peter that he is aware of Richards, as since this timeline wasn't supposed to happen, it doesn't matter what happens to it. He even jokingly says that Richards is doing his job for him by cleaning up any variants that might have accidentally got sent here. They go back and forth on the moral dilemma of the whole thing until a thought pops into Peter's mind. Peter asks the agent, if this is a new timeline, then wouldn't that mean there's another Peter Parker here as well? The TVA agent explains to him that there was, but he mysteriously died a week ago. In shock, Peter argues that even now more than ever the city needs him, and how can they be left to fend for themselves without a hero? He argues that he senses that Richards has bad intentions and he has to do what's right. Peter breaks the handcuffs for plot purposes and escapes the base as the TVA Minutemen try to shoot him down. Peter swings away safely. Throughout the film, Peter will explore this new reality and try to figure out a way to stop Kang. As Peter explores, he starts to notice the technology in this universe is advanced. In Spider-Man No Way Home, after Otto Octavius is sent home, he still has the Stark arc reactor with him. This causes him to return home with advanced technology and finally introduce the clean energy he envisioned. He eventually has the same idea Tony had, which was creating a suit of armor around the world. And in this timeline, Otto also invents his own version of Ultron-like protective bots. Yeah, we know how this is going to go down. We also see Peter run into a couple of lost variants in this timeline as well. We would see him have smaller fight scenes with Squid, played by Sam Raimi's brother Ted Raimi, and a variant of the Shocker, played by Logan Marshall Green again. These fights would happen until the TVA Minutemen show up trying to capture Peter and get distracted by capturing the variants. Another concept I would add to this film, as sort of a side story, is a redemption arc for Flint Marko, who we all know as Sandman. Since he was cured of his condition, this film would have him reunite with his daughter and finally get away from a chaotic life. The actor Thomas Hayden Church has expressed an interest in returning, or at least making a cameo. He also said that a more fulfilling story involving Sandman and his daughter was cut from No Way Home, so that's a storyline that I would love to see play out. I feel like it would be rewarding seeing Sandman get a wholesome ending. Peter eventually sneaks into Kang's compound, which has a similar look to Simon Krieger's base from the Miles Morales PlayStation game. Once inside the compound, Peter notices a room full of cages covered by energy force fields with a variety of people contained in them. Upon a closer inspection, Peter notices multiple variants of different heroes and villains. We see a Mysterio variant played by Bruce Campbell, who was rumored to play him before. We see a variant of Spider-Gwen, played by Emma Stone once again. We see a variant of Black Tarantula, played by Diego Luna from Andor. And lastly, we see a variant of Lady Spider, played by Vanessa Morgan, who we know from Riverdale, among many others. Lady Spider is an important figure. In the comics, Lady Spider is recruited to the Superior Spider Army, which includes Spider-Man 2099 himself. So with the introduction of her in our fictional film here, maybe she can be the missing link to connect multiple Spider-Verses. After Peter finishes being in shock at the collection Kang has acquired in his compound, we finally see the Conglomerator come face to face with Peter Parker. And after a speech by Kang on how super people are no longer needed and how they only get in the way of the new dynasty that's on its way, we see them have an action-packed fight. After a while of web slinging, web dodging, and multiple quips by Peter, we see him start to free the captive variants one by one. Kang isn't happy about that, and he even goes out of his way to eliminate multiple variants by blasting them into disintegration with his beam, including the Bruce Campbell Mysterio variant. Eventually, Kang gets so angry that he ditches the whole Mayor Act and takes out his anger on the city by causing destruction everywhere. Peter and the other hero variants get the civilians to safety, while other variants escape, until eventually the TVA agent along with multiple Minutemen show up to take control of the situation. The TVA agent scolds Peter for making things worse and that he should have never messed with the events that were supposed to happen. Peter argues what's the point of having multiple variants of heroes if none of them can help each other's universes. The agent goes on to explain to him that that version of Kang is by far not the most threatening variant of them all, and brings out one of those Infinity Stones they use as paperweights and uses a Power Stone to hold Kang in place and put multiversal restraints on him, similar to the ones Loki had. As the Minutemen escort Kang away, the lead agent tells Peter that if he cares about this timeline so much, it's now his responsibility to round up the variants that managed to get lost here, good and evil. If he doesn't, a Nexus event will occur and the whole timeline goes down the drain. He points him in the direction of multiversal technology that will help him in his new endeavor. Towards the final moments of the film, we see Peter on top of the Chrysler building feeling guilty for everything that happened and feeling homesick. We see May Riley swing her way next to him, and they share a moment of clarity on how being a hero is tough, especially now with the multiverse being involved. They both vow to clean up the variants and bring everyone back to their respective universes in the safest way possible. This ending could set up a new trilogy for Tobey Maguire and have him play a new role for the multiverse. There's a possibility of him joining a version of the Superior Spider Army. There's a possibility of him becoming a mentor for Miles Morales depending if and when and how they introduce him into live action. And there's also rumors of him reprising his role in Avengers Kang Dynasty. So the possibilities are endless thus far. As far as what happens next for Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker here in our fictional universe, well, that'll be another video for another time. Writing predictions for the multiverse and different timelines is a challenge. There are so many things you have to account for. Thankfully, a Spider-Man 4 would be Sam Raimi's job, not mine. I just make YouTube videos. I also did a How Would a Dark Knight 4 Look. Feel free to check it out along with my other movie related videos as well. Feel free to leave your own predictions in the comments below. It's always fascinating reading each of them. They're also fun and unique. Thank you for all the continued support, and as always, thanks for watching.